There is a dangerous trap hidden inside the personal development industry. It is a trap that has likely consumed years of your life, thousands of your dollars, and vast amounts of your mental energy. It is the illusion that a better mindset automatically equals better results. Look at your recent history. You have probably read the books. You have listened to the podcasts. You have visualized your goals and optimized your morning routine. You feel incredibly motivated. You feel mentally sharp. But when you sit down at your desk, the bank account has not changed. The client roster has not grown. The business is exactly where it was 6 months ago. Why? Because you are standing on one side of a massive canyon. On your side is personal development, your thoughts, your beliefs, and your energy. On the other side is hard business execution, the sales calls, the marketing outreach, the product creation, and the brutal, unglamorous daily metrics. Mindset without execution is hallucination. You cannot meditate a profitable business into existence. You cannot journal your way to a signed contract. At some point, the internal work must translate into external, measurable friction. You have to build a bridge across the canyon. And building that bridge requires a completely different psychological framework. This audiobook is that framework. Welcome to the 90-Day Protocol. This is not a philosophy book. This is a tactical, uncompromising operating system designed to force you into consistent daily action. It is engineered to take the deep internal work you have already done and weaponize it in the real world. Why 90 days? Because it is long enough to create measurable behavioral change, but short enough to maintain urgency and intensity. It is the exact length of a business quarter. It is the sweet spot of human transformation. Over the next 10 chapters, we are going to dismantle the way you currently work. We will start with a ruthless baseline audit of your reality. We are going to strip away the vague, useless goals that paralyze you and replace them with hyper-specific daily inputs. You are going to learn why focusing on results is actually destroying your momentum, and how shifting your focus entirely to the actions you control will make you unstoppable. You will learn the rule of 3 to 5, the math of consistency, and the biological secret to hacking your own dopamine system so you never burn out. This challenge is going to be uncomfortable. It is going to force you out of the safe, quiet realm of planning and force you into visible execution every single day. By the end of these 90 days, you will not just have a different mindset, you will have a different reality. You will have built a machine of execution that runs whether you feel motivated or not. Stop reading about how to build the bridge. Pick up the hammer. Execution starts now. Chapter 1. The Baseline Audit. Imagine sitting in your car and turning on the GPS. You type in your ultimate destination, a highly profitable business, absolute financial freedom, and total sovereignty over your time. The system begins to calculate, but before it can give you a single directional cue, before it can tell you whether to turn left or right, it requires one non-negotiable piece of data. It needs your current location. If you lie to the GPS about where you are right now, it is mathematically impossible for the system to guide you to where you want to go. If you are sitting in a driveway in Chicago, but you tell the GPS you are already halfway to New York because it makes you feel better about your progress, every single direction it gives you will be completely useless. You will end up driving in circles. This sounds absurd, yet it is exactly how the vast majority of people operate their businesses and their lives. They lie about their current location. They use vanity metrics to massage their ego. They mistake the feeling of being overwhelmed for the reality of being productive. They tell themselves they are grinding because they spend 12 hours a day sitting in front of a laptop. Even if 10 of those hours were spent consuming content, adjusting their website logo, or planning to do the actual work, before you can begin the 90-day protocol, you must drop the illusion. Phase 1 begins with the baseline audit. This is a ruthless, objective, and entirely unemotional analysis of your current reality. It is the process of stripping away everything you hope is happening, everything you feel is happening, and looking exclusively at what the hard data proves is happening. This requires a temporary, highly intentional ego death. Ego is the enemy of data. Ego wants to protect you from the discomfort of your own stagnation. When you are failing, your ego will invent a dozen brilliant, complex narratives to explain why it is not your fault. It will blame the algorithm. It will blame the economy. It will blame the quality of your leads or the saturation of your market. The baseline audit silences the narrative. It looks only at the math. Because business is not magic, it is math. To execute the audit, you are going to shine a harsh light on 3 specific areas of your reality. First, you execute the output audit. This is your reality check on results. You must log into your bank accounts, your payment processors, and your CRM. Write down your exact monthly revenue. Do not round up. Write down your profit margins. How many actual clients did you sign in the last 30 days? How many units did you sell? Do not count the people who said they might buy. Do not count the verbal commitments that haven't cleared the bank. Count the cold, hard reality. For many, this number will be painfully low. Let it hurt. That pain is productive. It burns away the delusion. Second, you execute the input audit. This is where the truth usually hides. You must look at the exact volume of your execution over the last 30 days. How many outbound sales calls did you actually make? How many specific outreach messages did you send? How many pieces of conversion-focused content did you publish? Most people believe they have a conversion problem. They think their sales script is broken or their product is flawed. But when they perform the input audit, they discover a much simpler, far more brutal truth. They have a volume problem. You do not have a broken sales script. You just only pitched your offer to 4 people last week. You cannot accurately judge the effectiveness of a strategy if you are starving it of volume. Third, you execute the time and bandwidth audit. Where is your energy actually leaking? Track your time in 15-minute increments for just 3 days. You will be horrified by what you find. You will see how much time is lost to context switching, to scrolling, and to putting out minor administrative fires that do not move the needle. You must also audit your physical baseline. Are you trying to build a demanding, high-performance business on a foundation of 4 hours of sleep, cheap caffeine, and chronic dehydration? You cannot run a 90-day sprint on a broken engine? Your physical capacity dictates your cognitive stamina. When you put these 3 audits together on a single piece of paper, the mystery of your current situation completely vanishes. You are no longer a victim of bad luck. You are no longer confused about why you are stuck. You are looking at a perfectly logical mathematical equation. Low inputs plus low focus equals low outputs. This is the greatest gift the baseline audit gives you. It gives you extreme ownership. When you realize that your lack of results is entirely your fault, you simultaneously realize that the power to change those results is entirely in your hands. You have spent enough time analyzing your mindset. You have spent enough time doing the internal shadow work. It is time to do the spreadsheet work. Print the numbers. Stare at the reality. Accept your current coordinates. Only then can we lock onto the target and begin to move. Chapter 2. Identity Shifting and Target Lock. let us talk about one of the most persistent and damaging pieces of advice in the business world. Fake it till you make it. You cannot fake your way to a highly profitable, sustainable business. The market is too smart. Your clients are too perceptive. And most importantly, your own nervous system knows when you are lying. When you try to fake it, you are essentially putting on a cheap mask over a deeply insecure foundation. The moment you face real friction, a lost client, a failed launch, a month in the red, the mask shatters and you retreat back to your comfort zone. In the 90-day protocol, we do not fake anything. We shift. Before you can execute at a higher level, you must undergo a process called identity shifting. To understand why this is necessary, you have to understand the concept of the psychological thermostat. Every human being has an internal thermostat set to a specific level of success, wealth, and stress tolerance. Let's say your thermostat is set to $5,000 a month. If you suddenly have a brilliant month and make $10,000, your subconscious mind panics. It feels unfamiliar. It feels unsafe. So, what do? You subconsciously self-sabotage. You stop marketing. You pick a fight with a partner. You find a way to cool the room back down to $5,000. Conversely, if you drop to zero, the room gets too cold. The thermostat kicks on. You hustle desperately, and you get back to 5,000. Your business will never ever permanently outperform your internal self-image. The amateur believes that the timeline goes like this. First, my business grows. Then my identity changes. They say, when I finally hit my revenue goal, then I will be confident. Then I will stop second-guessing myself. This is mathematically backward. The external reality is a lagging indicator of the internal identity. You do not wait for the business to grow so you can act like a CEO. You must act like the CEO so the business can grow. You have to step into version 2.0 of yourself today. Version 2.0 is the version of you 90 days from now who has already flawlessly executed this protocol and achieved the exact targets you are setting. I want you to visualize this person. Do not just see their bank account, see their operating system. How does version 2.0 wake up in the morning? Do they hit snooze 3 times and immediately scroll through social media, or do they rise with cold, calculated intent? How does version 2.0 handle a client saying no? Do they spiral into self-doubt for 3 days, or do they immediately extract the data, adjust the script, and make the next call? Version 2.0 does not negotiate with their feelings. Version 2.0 executes the baseline. To shift your identity, you must start making decisions not as the person you are right now, who is likely frustrated, stuck, and overwhelmed, but as the person who has already won. Every time you face a point of friction over the next 90 days, you must pause and ask yourself, what would version 2.0 do right now? And then you do exactly that. You borrow the conviction of your future self. Once the identity is shifted, you must lock onto the target. A shifted identity without a precise target is just motivational energy bleeding into the void. You need a target lock. Look at the goals you have set for yourself in the past. They were probably vague, emotionally driven desires. I want to make more money. I want to grow my audience. I want to get in shape. The human brain cannot execute on a vague desire. The brain is a heat-seeking missile. If you do not give it a specific, hyper-defined coordinate, it will fly aimlessly until it runs out of fuel and crashes. For the 90-day protocol, you are going to define your targets with brutal, uncompromising clarity. You are not allowed to use the words more or better. You must use numbers, dates, and binary outcomes. Instead of, I want to make more money, Your target lock is, I will sign 5 new high-ticket clients, generating $15,000 in cash collected by day 90. Instead of, I want to grow my audience, your target lock is, I will publish 90 pieces of short-form content and capture 500 new email subscribers by day 90. A true target lock has 3 distinct characteristics. First, it is binary. At the end of the 90 days, there is no gray area. You either hit the exact number or you did not. You either passed or failed. Second, it is terrifying but mathematically possible. If your goal does not make you slightly nauseous, it is too small. Your thermostat isn't changing. But if it requires a literal miracle, like going from 0 to $1 million in 3 months, it is a delusion. Set a target that requires you to stretch your capacity to its absolute limit, but is entirely tethered to reality. Third, it is written down and visible every single day. You do not store your target lock in your head. You write it on a piece of paper, and you tape it to the monitor of your computer. You tape it to your bathroom mirror. It must be the first thing you see before you begin your daily execution, and the last thing you see when you shut the laptop down. You have audited your starting coordinates. You have upgraded your internal operating system to version 2.0, and you have locked on to the exact mathematical target. The foundation is poured. Now, it is time to build the engine. It is time to step into phase 2 and learn the mechanics of daily, unstoppable execution. Chapter 3. The Rule of 3 to 5. The average ambitious professional wakes up, opens a notebook or an application, and stares at a to-do list that contains 17 different items. It includes replying to a backlog of emails, redesigning a graphic for a social media post, researching a new software tool, attending 2 meetings that have no clear agenda, following up with a lead, and finally, recording a sales video. By the time they look at the list, they are already exhausted. The sheer volume of the tasks triggers an immediate release of cortisol. Their brain enters a state of cognitive overload before the workday has even begun. So, what do? They take the path of least resistance. They scan the list of 17 items and subconsciously search for the easiest, most frictionless task available. They spend 45 minutes organizing their email inbox. They tweak the color of the button on their website. They reply to a few low-priority messages. At the end of the day, they have crossed off 12 of the 17 items. They feel a sense of tired satisfaction. They tell themselves they had a highly productive day. They grinded. But when you look at the architecture of their business, absolutely nothing has changed. The needle has not moved a single millimeter. Why? Because the 5 items left unchecked at the bottom of the list were the only things that actually mattered. They were the cold calls. They were the pitches. They were the hard, uncomfortable points of friction that generate revenue. This is the delusion of the massive to-do list. It is a psychological hiding place. A long to-do list allows you to masquerade as a productive CEO while actually behaving like a low-level administrative assistant. It gives you permission to major in minor things. To survive the 90-day protocol, you must burn your current to-do list to the ground. You must replace it with a singular, uncompromising framework. The rule of 3 to 5. The rule is brutally simple. Every single day, you are allowed to commit to a minimum of 3 and an absolute maximum of 5 critical tasks. If you write down a 6th task, you have already failed the protocol. If everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. When you artificially constrain your daily bandwidth to a maximum of 5 items, something profound happens to your psychology. You can no longer hide behind shallow work. You are forced into a corner where you must aggressively prioritize. You have to look at the landscape of your business and make hard executive decisions about what actually matters. How do you identify these 3 to 5 tasks? You run every potential action through the needle mover test. Look at the action you want to write down and ask yourself, if this was the absolute only thing I accomplished today and my laptop died immediately after I finished it, would the day still be a net positive for my business? If the answer is no, it does not make the list. Answering an angry email is not a needle mover. It is maintenance. Tweaking your brand fonts is not a needle mover. It is a distraction. Pitching a new high-ticket client? That is a needle mover. Filming a piece of conversion content that will live on the internet and act as a 24/7 salesperson? That is a needle mover. Your list of 3 to 5 must consist almost entirely of deep inputs. Deep inputs are actions that directly generate cash, audience, or structural equity in your business. Now, let us discuss the mechanics of execution. The rule of 3 to 5 fails if you attempt to create the list on the morning of the execution. Your willpower and decision-making capacity are finite resources. They drain like a battery throughout the day. If you wake up and spend the first 30 minutes of your peak cognitive window trying to decide what you should work on, you are squandering your most valuable asset. The list must be drafted the night before. At the end of your workday, when you are closing out your systems, you take out a physical piece of paper, not an app, a physical piece of paper. You look at your target log for the 90 days. You ask yourself what 3 to 5 actions will move you closest to that target tomorrow. You write them down, and you leave that piece of paper directly on top of your closed laptop. When you wake up the next morning, there is zero negotiation. There is no strategic planning required. The executive version of you from yesterday has already handed down the orders. The worker version of you today simply has to execute them. And when you sit down to execute, you eat the frog first. You take the hardest, most uncomfortable item on that list of 3 to 5 and you attack it before you check a single email, before you open social media, and before the world is allowed to infect your attention. When you finish that first massive task by 10 a.m., the psychological relief is intoxicating. The rest of the day becomes a downhill sprint. A business is not built by doing 50 trivial things a day. A business is built by doing 3 to 5 impossibly important things every single day without fail for 90 days straight. Stop hiding behind busy work. Constrain your focus. Identify the vital few and attack. Chapter 4. Inputs versus outputs. You wake up on a Tuesday morning. You reach for your phone and see an email notification. A prospect you spoke with last week just signed the contract and paid a $5,000 invoice. Instantly, your brain floods with dopamine. You feel like a genius. You feel invincible. Your posture improves. You walk into your office with absolute confidence, and you attack the day. Now, fast forward to Wednesday. You wake up. You check your phone. An email notification sits on your screen, but this time, it is a current client canceling their retainer. Instantly, your stomach drops. The dopamine crashes. You feel like an absolute fraud. You begin to question your entire business model, your pricing, and your competence. You spend the rest of the day in a state of low-grade paralysis, scrolling through your competitors' websites, wondering why they are succeeding while you are failing. If this emotional roller coaster sounds familiar, it is because you are operating your business under a fundamentally flawed psychological framework. You are tying your self-worth, your momentum, and your daily motivation to an external variable that you do not actually control. You are living in the realm of outputs. An output is a result. A closed sale is an output. A new subscriber is an output. $10,000 in monthly revenue is an output. We build businesses because we desire these outputs. In a capitalist system, outputs are the oxygen that keeps the company alive. But here is the cold, uncomfortable truth that most entrepreneurs refuse to accept. You have absolutely zero direct control over your outputs. You cannot physically force a human being to pull out their credit card and buy your service. You cannot force the algorithm to make your video go viral. You cannot dictate the current macroeconomic climate. When you set your daily goals based on outputs, when you say, "I need to close 2 sales today to be successful," you are handing the remote control of your emotional state to total strangers. Amateurs focus on outputs. They stare at the scoreboard. And because they stare at the scoreboard, they trip over their own feet on the field. Professionals operate entirely differently. Professionals focus exclusively on inputs. An input is an action. It is the raw material that fuels the machine. You do not control if a prospect buys, but you have 100% absolute control over how many prospects you call today. You do not control if an audience likes your content, but you have absolute control over sitting down for 60 minutes and writing a high-value email. You control the volume. You control the quality. You control the repetitions. In the 90-day protocol, we execute a total psychological pivot. We sever the emotional attachment to the output, and we violently attach our pride to the execution of the input. There is an ancient Stoic concept regarding the archer. An archer controls their stance. They control their breathing. They control the tension of the bowstring, the angle of the aim, and the smoothness of the release. But the exact microsecond the arrow leaves the bow, the archer's control ends. A sudden gust of wind could blow the arrow off course. The target could unexpectedly move. The Stoic archer does not tie their self-worth to whether the arrow hits the bullseye. They tie their self-worth to whether they executed the shot flawlessly. For the next 90 days, you are the archer. You are no longer allowed to judge a day as good or bad based on your bank account. You must judge the day strictly by your inputs. If you executed your 3 to 5 critical tasks, you won the day, period. Even if 0 sales came in, even if the market was silent, you won the day because you did the work. To do this, we must redefine your key performance indicators, KPIs. Vague goals die in execution. If your daily task is to do marketing, you will fail. Do marketing is not an input. It is a conceptual hallucination. You can spend 3 hours reading articles about marketing and trick yourself into believing you did the work. Your inputs must be binary. A binary input is a specific, measurable action that can only be answered with a simple yes or no, 1 or 0. Instead of do marketing, your input is send 15 highly personalized direct messages to qualified leads on LinkedIn before noon. Did you send the 15 messages? Yes or no? Instead of create content, your input is record, edit, and publish one 60-second educational video. Did you hit publish? Yes or no? When you reduce your business down to binary inputs, you eliminate the emotional weight of decision-making. You eliminate the anxiety. You become a machine. You wake up, you look at the 3 to 5 binary tasks on your desk, and you simply turn the crank. If you turn the crank long enough, the outputs eventually have no choice but to follow. The universe operates on the law of cause and effect. If you provide enough high-quality causes, the effects are mathematically inevitable. But that is the universe's job, not yours. Your job is to put your head down, ignore the scoreboard, and release the arrow. Chapter 5. Consistency over intensity. Let us talk about the cinematic montage. You have seen it in 100 different movies. The hero is at their lowest point, and suddenly the heavy music drops. We see a rapid sequence of intense, white-knuckle effort. They are running up a mountain in the rain. They are working at their desk until 3 in the morning, surrounded by empty coffee cups. They are pushing themselves to the absolute brink of human endurance. Within 3 minutes of screen time, the montage ends, the hero is transformed, and they win the day. Modern business culture has romanticized the montage. We call it the hustle. We glorify the entrepreneur who pulls an all-nighter. We applaud the founder who burns themselves to the ground to hit a deadline. We are addicted to the narrative of extreme, explosive intensity. But the cinematic montage is a devastating lie. In the real world, intensity is seductive, but it is fragile. It is a spike in the heart rate. It is a surge of adrenaline. And biologically, a system cannot sustain a massive spike without an equally massive crash on the other side. When you attempt to build your business on a foundation of sheer intensity, you might have an incredibly productive Monday and Tuesday, but by Thursday, your nervous system is entirely fried. You spend the next 3 days recovering, paralyzed by brain fog and burnout. Intensity makes for great social media content, but consistency makes for great bank accounts. There is an ancient truth regarding the elements. A drop of water will hollow out a stone, not through force, but through relentless persistence. If you take a fire hose and blast a boulder with maximum intensity, for 10 minutes, the rock will simply get wet. But if you allow a single tiny drop of water to hit that exact same rock in the exact same place every single day for 10 years, the water will carve straight through the solid stone. Your daily execution is the drop of water. The 90-day protocol is not about blasting the rock. It is about never ever stopping the drip. To master consistency, you must first accept a terrifying reality about human emotion. Motivation is a myth. Motivation is a highly volatile, unpredictable weather pattern inside your brain. It is influenced by what you ate for dinner last night, how well you slept, a passing comment from a stranger, and microscopic fluctuations in your hormones. If you require the presence of motivation to execute your daily inputs, you are handing the keys to your business over to the weather. You will not be motivated for the next 90 days. There will be a morning, likely around day 14 or day 15, where the initial excitement of this protocol has entirely worn off. You will wake up, it will be raining, you will be tired. You will look at your list of 3 to 5 tasks, and your brain will physically repel against the idea of doing the work. Your ego will invent a brilliant, highly logical excuse as to why you should take the day off. That is the exact moment the protocol actually begins. Amateurs work when they are inspired. Professionals work when they are exhausted. The separation between the two is a framework called the minimum viable day. The greatest threat to your 90-day sprint is the 0 day. A 0 day is a day where the chain of execution completely breaks. You do absolutely nothing to move the business forward. 1 0 day is a psychological cancer. It destroys the momentum, justifies weakness, and makes it incredibly easy to have a second 0 day. To avoid the 0 day, you must design a safety net. When you are operating at 10% capacity, when you are sick, exhausted, or facing a personal crisis, you do not attempt to execute a high-intensity day. You execute your minimum viable day. If your normal daily input is to send 20 outbound pitches, your minimum viable day might be to send just 1. A single pitch, sending 1 pitch, is not going to double your revenue. But that is not the point. The point of the minimum viable day is purely psychological. It is about keeping the chain intact. It is about proving to your subconscious mind that even on your absolute worst, darkest day, you are still the kind of person who executes. You keep the drop of water falling. Finally, consistency requires ruthless energy management. You are a biological machine. You cannot sprint a marathon. If you are chronically sleep deprived, you are not being a hardcore entrepreneur. You are operating your cognitive machinery while intoxicated. You must protect your physical asset. Establish a hard cutoff time for your work every evening. Let the nervous system down-regulate. Defend your 8 hours of sleep with the same ferocity that you defend your bank account. We are playing a long game disguised as a short sprint. Drop the illusion of the hustle montage. Stop looking for the adrenaline spike. Embrace the boring, repetitive, unglamorous friction of the daily drip. Keep the chain unbroken. The rock will eventually crack. Chapter 6. The data doesn't lie. Imagine you are a commercial airline pilot. You are flying a massive, multi-million-dollar jet at 30,000 feet in the dead of night. You are completely surrounded by heavy storm clouds. There is zero visibility outside the cockpit window. Do you fly the plane based on how the altitude feels in your stomach? Do you navigate based on a vague memory of the route you flew last week? Of course not. If you fly a jet by feel in the dark, you will crash into a mountain. You survive by looking directly at the instrument panel. You trust the altimeter, the gyroscope, and the GPS. You trust the cold, hard, objective data over your own biological instincts. Yet, the vast majority of entrepreneurs are flying their businesses in the dark, at maximum speed, with the instrument panel entirely turned off. They operate their daily lives based on vibes. They finish a Friday afternoon, collapse onto the couch, and say to themselves, "I worked really hard this week." Or they look at a low bank balance and say, "My marketing strategy is completely failing." Let us establish a fundamental law of the 90-day protocol. Your feelings are terrible data points. The human brain is notoriously, catastrophically bad at remembering volume and frequency. This is a survival mechanism. Your ego wants to protect you from the pain of your own inadequacy, so it actively distorts your memory. It inflates the memory of your effort, and it shrinks the memory of your laziness. If I ask an amateur how many outbound sales calls they made this week, they will confidently tell me they made around 50. They remember the exertion. They remember feeling exhausted. But if I force them to pull out their phone records and actually count the dialed numbers, the reality is almost always a fraction of the assumption. They didn't make 50. They made 14. You cannot optimize what you do not track. If you are not aggressively tracking your daily inputs, you are not running a business. You are running a hobby driven by hallucination. This brings us to phase 3 and the most critical administrative habit of the 90-day protocol, the KPI tracker. You do not need expensive software. You do not need a complex dashboard with a dozen integrations. You need a blank spreadsheet. That is your instrument panel. On the left side of the spreadsheet, you list the days, day 1 through day 90. Across the top, you list your 3 to 5 daily binary inputs, the ones we established in phase 2. At the end of every single day, right before you write down tomorrow's tasks, you fill in the tracker. It is a binary entry, 1 or 0, yes or no. Did you send the 15 messages? Yes or no. Did you record the video? Yes or no. Over the course of a week, this simple spreadsheet begins to paint a brutally honest picture of your operational reality. It creates a visual mirror. This brings us to the sacred ritual of the weekly review. Once a week, typically on a Sunday afternoon or a Monday morning before the chaos begins. You must sit down with your instrument panel. You open the spreadsheet and you look at the raw data of the previous 7 days. The data does not care about your excuses. The spreadsheet does not care that you had a headache on Thursday, or that your dog was sick on Friday, or that you felt uniquely uninspired on Tuesday. It only registers the reality of the input. When you stare at the raw data, an incredible psychological transformation occurs. You completely cure your business anxiety. Anxiety thrives in the unknown. Anxiety is the result of a gap between what you want and your understanding of why you are not getting it. When an amateur experiences a drop in revenue, they panic. They tear down their website, they change their pricing model, and they completely pivot their niche, convinced that the entire system is broken. When a professional experiences a drop in revenue, they do not panic. They open the tracker. They look at the data and realize that over the last 14 days, their outbound input volume dropped by 60%. The mystery is instantly solved. It is not a crisis of identity. It is not a macroeconomic disaster. It is simply a math problem. The inputs dropped, so the outputs delayed and dropped. To fix the revenue, they just have to fix the input volume. The data removes the emotion from your execution. It allows you to view your business as a machine. You are the mechanic. When a machine makes a strange noise, the mechanic does not cry. The mechanic does not question their self-worth. The mechanic simply lifts the hood, looks at the data, identifies the broken belt, and replaces it. For the next 90 days, you must become utterly obsessed with the tracker. Do not trust your memory. Do not trust your feelings. When you sit down at the end of the week to evaluate your progress, leave your ego at the door and let the numbers speak. The data is the only truth. Chapter 7. Positive Pressure and Troubleshooting. There is a deeply romanticized archetype in the business world, the lone wolf. It is the image of the solitary genius, locked in a basement or a garage, grinding away in total uncompromising isolation until they eventually emerge victorious. We love this story. It feeds the ego. It makes us feel like we are the sole heroes of our own epic journey. But in the brutal reality of hard business execution, the lone wolf starves to death. Isolation is the ultimate killer of momentum. When you are operating entirely by yourself, in a vacuum, you are at the absolute mercy of your own internal negotiations. And you know exactly what that negotiation sounds like. It happens at 6 a.m. when the alarm goes off. It happens at 4 p.m. when you have 2 difficult tasks left on your rule of 3 to 5 list, but your energy is fading. Left to your own devices, your brain is a master defense attorney. It will present a perfectly logical, airtight case for why you deserve a break, why the current strategy isn't working anyway, and why you should just try again tomorrow. Because you are the judge, the jury, and the defendant, you will rule in your own favor almost every single time. You will let yourself off the hook. You cannot grade your own homework. To survive the 90 days, you must introduce a framework of positive pressure. Positive pressure is the intentional introduction of an external force that makes failing to execute more painful than doing the work. It is accountability with teeth. This does not mean telling your spouse or your best friend about your goals. The people who love you unconditionally are terrible accountability partners. They care about your comfort. If you tell them you are exhausted and want to quit, they will give you an out. They will say, "It's okay, you worked hard, you deserve a rest." You do not need comfort. You need a mirror. You need a coach, an uncompromising business partner, or a ruthless peer group of individuals who are executing at the exact same level or higher than you are. You need someone who does not care about your excuses when you know that every Friday at 5 p.m. you have to submit your KPI tracker to someone who will look at the blank spaces and ask you exactly why you failed to send the outreach messages. Your behavior completely changes on Wednesday afternoon. The friction of the uncomfortable task becomes significantly less painful than the friction of the upcoming embarrassment. You are leveraging your own social survival instincts to force execution, but accountability only ensures that you do the work. What happens when you are executing the inputs flawlessly? The tracker is full of ones, but the outputs are still completely flat. This is where the amateur panics and burns the house down. If an amateur runs a marketing campaign for 2 weeks and it yields 0 sales, they conclude the entire market is dead. They scrap their core offer, they tear down their website, they pivot to a completely new, shiny business model they saw on YouTube. The professional does not pivot. The professional troubleshoots. A business is just a sequential line of dominoes. If the last domino, revenue, is not falling, you do not throw all the dominoes away. You walk backward up the line to find the exact point of friction. Let us say your daily input is making 30 outbound cold calls. You do this consistently for 2 weeks. That is over 400 calls, 0 sales. Look at the micrometrics. Are people picking up the phone? If the answer is no, your lead list is bad, or your caller ID looks like spam. If they do pick up, do they hang up in the first 10 seconds? If yes, your opening hook is weak. Do they stay on the line but refuse to book a meeting? Your value proposition is failing. Do they take the meeting but refuse to buy? Your pricing presentation or closing framework is broken. The machine is not completely destroyed. There is just a single broken belt. Once you identify the specific broken domino, you must obey the golden rule of troubleshooting. You only tweak one variable at a time. If you change your lead list, rewrite your opening script, and drop your price all on the exact same Monday, and suddenly you get a sale on Tuesday, you have a massive problem. You have absolutely no idea which of the 3 changes actually fixed the machine. You are back to flying the plane by feel. You must act like a scientist. Formulate a specific hypothesis. I believe my opening hook is too aggressive. Change only the hook and run the input volume for another 5 days to gather new data. You do not need to be a visionary genius to succeed in this protocol. You just need to be relentless, and you need to be objective. Let the positive pressure force you to execute the daily inputs. Let the objective data tell you exactly where the friction is. Stop burning the entire house down when a light bulb goes out. Just tighten the loose bolt and keep the machine running. Chapter 8. Hacking the Dopamine System. You cannot out-willpower biology. No matter how disciplined you are, no matter how intense your vision board is, and no matter how desperately you want to succeed, your brain is a biological machine. And like any machine, it runs on fuel. In the human nervous system, the fuel for sustained momentum has a specific chemical name. It is called dopamine. We often misunderstand dopamine. We think of it as the chemical of pleasure, the rush we get from eating sugar or scrolling through social media. But neuroscientists know that dopamine is actually the molecule of pursuit. It is the chemical that motivates us to take action toward a goal. When your dopamine levels are high, you feel driven, focused, and unstoppable. When your dopamine levels crash, you feel lethargic, uninspired, and deeply apathetic. And here is the biological problem with the 90-day protocol. Your brain did not evolve to wait 90 days for a reward. Our ancestors were hunter-gatherers. They operated on incredibly short feedback loops. They felt hungry, they hunted an animal, they ate the animal, and their brain immediately released a massive surge of dopamine, reinforcing the behavior. The timeline from effort to reward was a matter of hours. Modern business requires you to hunt for weeks, sometimes months. Without eating, you are executing the inputs, sending the pitches, and building the infrastructure. But the ultimate reward, the revenue, the closed client, the ultimate freedom, is sitting at the end of the 90 days. If you wait until day 90 to feel good, you will not survive the desert. Your dopamine system will starve to death by day 20, and your momentum will collapse. To sustain the protocol, you must stop relying on sheer discipline. You must actively hack your own neurochemistry. You have to manually intervene in your brain's reward circuitry. This requires a radical shift in how you celebrate. You must completely detach the reward from the ultimate output and attach it exclusively to the daily input. Right now, your brain only releases dopamine when you get a result. A client signs a contract and you pop a bottle of champagne. You go out to a nice dinner. You feel a surge of pride. But what happens on a random Tuesday when you execute perfectly, but no one buys? Silence, no dopamine. Your brain learns that hard work without immediate external validation is painful and unrewarding. We are going to rewire that connection. For the rest of the protocol, you are going to introduce the system of micro-rewards. A micro-reward is a small, highly tangible hit of pleasure that is delivered immediately and only immediately after you complete your 3 to 5 critical daily tasks. A micro-reward does not need to be expensive or grand. It just needs to be something you genuinely crave. It could be drinking a highly specific premium brand of coffee that you only allow yourself to have when the work is done. It could be 30 minutes of playing a video game. It could be watching one episode of your favorite television show. But the most powerful micro-reward for a high-performing entrepreneur is something entirely free and incredibly rare. Guilt-free rest. Most ambitious people have completely forgotten how to rest without guilt. If they stop working at 3 p.m., a voice in their head immediately starts whispering that they are lazy. They spend their entire evening half working, checking emails from the couch, existing in a toxic gray area where they are neither fully executing nor fully recovering. When you complete your 3 to 5 tasks, you have won the day. If you finish them by 1 p.m., the protocol dictates that you have earned the ultimate reward. You get to close the laptop, you get to walk away, and you get to do it with zero psychological guilt. When your brain realizes that intense, focused execution leads directly to immediate freedom, your productivity will violently accelerate. You will stop procrastinating. You will sprint to the uncomfortable tasks because the brain knows there is a guaranteed immediate payoff on the other side. However, there is one non-negotiable rule to hacking the dopamine system. You must become a ruthless gatekeeper of the reward. If you cheat the system, the hack completely falls apart. If you only complete 4 out of your 5 tasks, and you decide to take the micro-reward anyway because you tried really hard today, you have broken the psychological conditioning. You have just taught your brain that it can get the dopamine without paying the full price of the friction. The moment your brain learns it can access the reward without doing the hard work, your discipline is dead. The reward must be sacred. It must be earned in blood and sweat. Do not wait for the market to validate you. Do not wait for the finish line to feel a sense of pride. Take control of your own internal chemistry. Execute the inputs, trigger the reward, replenish the fuel, and wake up tomorrow to do it again. Chapter 9. The Marathon Mindset. let us talk about the intoxicating power of day one. Day one of any new endeavor feels incredible. You have a brand new notebook. Your KPI spreadsheet is completely blank. Your vision of the future is crystal clear, and your nervous system is flooded with the adrenaline of a fresh start. You wake up early without an alarm. You crush your tasks. You feel like an absolute weapon of execution. But day one is a biological trap. The energy you feel on the first day of a 90-day protocol is not sustainable drive. It is novelty. And neurobiologically, novelty has a shockingly short half-life. It burns extremely hot and it burns out extremely fast. If you attempt to run a 90-day protocol using the exact same emotional intensity you felt on day one, you will not reach day 90. You will completely implode by day 19. You are attempting to sprint the first mile of a marathon. And when you sprint the first mile of a marathon, you do not just slow down in the second mile. You collapse on the pavement. 90 days is a marathon disguised as a sprint. To survive it, you must master the architecture of pacing. And to master pacing, you must prepare yourself for the most dangerous psychological phase of this entire challenge. I call it the desert of the middle. The desert of the middle typically hits right around day 30. The initial thrill of the protocol has entirely evaporated. The daily inputs, the outreach messages, the cold calls, the content creation have lost their shiny new appeal. They have become heavy, monotonous obligations. You are 30 days deep. You are exhausted. The dopamine of starting is a distant memory, but the massive triumphant dopamine hit of finishing on day 90 is still 2 entire months away. You look around, and all you see is endless sand. This is the exact coordinate where 90% of entrepreneurs quit. They quit because they misinterpret the psychological data. When the intense boredom sets in, the amateur believes that something has gone fundamentally wrong. They think, if this was the right strategy, I would feel passionate about it. Because I am bored, the system must be broken. So they abandon the protocol. They pivot to a new strategy, effectively running back to the starting line just to feel the cheap thrill of day one all over again. You must radically reframe your understanding of boredom. Boredom is not a symptom of failure. Boredom is the exact sound of a system working perfectly. If your business feels like a thrilling roller coaster every single day, you do not have a business. You have a crisis management center. True, predictable, scaling businesses are inherently boring. They are built on repetitive, unglamorous friction. The people who win at the highest level are not the ones who stay motivated the longest. They are the ones who learn how to execute flawlessly while completely, utterly bored. When you enter the desert of the middle, you do not try to manufacture artificial excitement. You lean entirely on the cold, hard architecture of your milestone celebrations. In the previous chapter, we established daily micro-rewards to hack the short-term dopamine system. But to sustain the marathon, you must build macro-rewards into the framework. You need weekly and monthly milestones. A weekly milestone is a larger, structured celebration that occurs at the end of a perfect 7-day cycle. If your KPI tracker shows a flawless string of execution from Monday to Friday, the weekend is not just time off. It is a scheduled, intentional recovery phase. You go to a premium steakhouse. You book a massage. You completely sever your psychological connection to the business for 48 hours. A monthly milestone is even heavier. If you reach day 30 with an unbroken chain of inputs, you must enforce a massive psychological reset. Take a full Friday off. Disappear into the mountains. Go entirely off the grid. You are signaling to your nervous system that a major checkpoint has been cleared. You are giving the brain a localized finish line, rather than forcing it to stare at the daunting horizon of day 90. But what happens when the milestones are not enough? What happens when you are in the deepest part of the desert? You are exhausted and your mind is screaming at you to stop. You must activate the protocol override. The protocol override is the ultimate surrender of your free will to the system you created. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop asking, "Do I feel like doing this today?" That question is no longer relevant. You treat your daily inputs like gravity. You do not wake up and ask yourself if you feel like obeying gravity today. It is a law of physics. It simply exists. The rule of 3 to 5 is your new law of physics. The execution happens regardless of your internal weather. Survive the desert. Embrace the profound boredom of the work. Pace your nervous system through the milestones. The finish line is closer than you think. Keep walking. Chapter 10. Building the Machine. You are approaching the horizon. The 90-day mark is finally in sight. If you have executed this protocol with uncompromising discipline, your reality looks fundamentally different today than it did 3 months ago. Your pipeline is full. Your execution is sharp. The paralyzing anxiety that used to dictate your mornings has been replaced by the cold, predictable rhythm of the daily inputs. But as you approach the end of the sprint, you are about to face the most dangerous psychological trap of the entire journey. It is the temptation of the finish line. Your ego is going to tell you that because you worked so incredibly hard for the last 3 months, you have earned the right to relax. It will tell you that day 91 is a graduation. It will whisper that you can finally take your foot off the gas and go back to your normal routine. If you listen to that voice, you will lose absolutely everything you just built. Look at the fitness industry. A person commits to a grueling 90-day transformation program. They track every calorie. They train relentlessly. By day 90, they have lost 20 pounds and they look incredible. But because they treated the 90 days as a temporary sprint rather than a permanent lifestyle change, what happens on day 91? They go back to eating garbage. They stop training. And within 6 months, they have gained every single pound back. The business world is littered with the exact same casualties. Entrepreneurs who hustled their way to a profitable quarter only to collapse, revert to their old habits, and watch their revenue plummet back to zero. The 90-day protocol is not a diet. It is an operating system installation. Day 91 is not a vacation. Day 91 is the day you transition from white-knuckle discipline to automated scaling. You are no longer just running a challenge. You are building a machine. For the last 3 months, you have relied heavily on sheer force of will. You used positive pressure, dopamine hacks, and the intense focus of the rule of 3 to 5 to manually turn the crank of your business. You proved that the inputs work. You looked at the data, you troubleshooted the friction points, and you found the exact mathematical equation that generates revenue. But willpower is a finite, expensive fuel. You cannot white-knuckle your execution for the next 10 years. If you rely entirely on your own physical and cognitive stamina to turn the crank, your business will never scale beyond your personal capacity. To scale, you must hard-code the habits into systems. A system is a process that operates independently of your mood, your memory, and eventually, your physical presence. It is the architecture that allows the machine to run while the mechanic sleeps. The first step to building the machine is documenting the inputs. Over the last 90 days, you discovered exactly what works. Now, you must translate that knowledge into standard operating procedures, SOPs. If your daily needle mover is sending 20 outbound pitches, you do not just leave that task as a vague concept in your head. You document the exact script. You document the exact criteria for finding a qualified lead. You document the exact follow-up cadence. You take the friction of decision-making and turn it into a sterile, step-by-step checklist. When you document a process, you transform it from a personal habit into a transferable business asset. Once the process is documented, you enter the final phase of true business ownership: delegation and automation. You cannot multiply your time, but you can multiply your inputs. If sending 20 pitches a day generated $10,000, sending 200 pitches a day could generate $100,000. But you cannot physically send 200 high-quality pitches a day without burning out, because you have built the SOP. You no longer have to. You can hand that exact document to software, or you can hand it to an employee. You do not outsource a broken process hoping someone else will fix it. You outsource a perfected process so someone else can scale it. This is the ultimate identity shift. In phase 1, you shifted from an amateur to an operator. You learned how to swing the hammer. Now, in phase 5, you are shifting from an operator to an architect. The architect still knows how to swing the hammer and will never hesitate to pick it up if the foundation cracks. But the architect's primary job is designing the system so the building can stand on its own. Look at your KPI tracker. Look at the data you have accumulated. That spreadsheet is the blueprint of your machine. Stop treating your business like a daily emergency. Stop relying on your own adrenaline. Build the framework, document the inputs, and begin to hand the crank over to the system. You have survived the 90 days. You have built the bridge across the canyon. The grueling sprint is over. Now it is time to build an empire on the other side. Day 91, the finish line. You wake up. The alarm sounds at the exact same time it has for the last 3 months. You step out of bed, make the coffee, and walk into your workspace. You look at the calendar. You look at the tracking spreadsheet. It is day 91. You have crossed the finish line. Notice what is missing. There is no marching band. There is no confetti falling from the ceiling. The world outside your window looks exactly the same as it did 90 days ago. The market does not care that you finished a sprint. But you care, because while the external world looks the same, your internal reality has been completely, violently transformed. I want you to look back at the starting line. Think about the person who started this protocol 3 months ago. That version of you was drowning in the execution gap. They were rich in mindset, but bankrupt in action. They had massive goals, but they were paralyzed by the sheer volume of their own to-do list. They negotiated with their feelings. They let their ego dictate their progress. Now, look at the instrument panel sitting on your desk. Look at the 90 days of raw, objective data. Look at the thousands of inputs. Look at the uncomfortable sales calls, the outreach messages, and the days you forced yourself to execute the minimum viable day when your motivation was at absolute zero. You built the bridge. You crossed the canyon. If you executed the protocol with uncompromising discipline, your target lock has been destroyed. The revenue is there. The clients are signed. The structural equity of your business has multiplied. But as you stand here on day 91, you will experience a profound, unexpected revelation. The revenue is great. The business growth is necessary, but the outputs are not the ultimate prize. The ultimate prize is the person you had to become to generate those outputs. You are no longer someone who simply talks about doing the work. You are an execution machine. You have completely rewired your nervous system to seek out friction rather than run from it. You have shattered the illusion of the cinematic hustle and replaced it with the cold, unstoppable power of daily consistency. Most importantly, you have earned the rarest asset in the human psychological experience: unbreakable self-trust. When you tell yourself you are going to do something now, your brain actually believes you. You no longer need to rely on cheap motivational tricks because your confidence is not based on a hallucination. It is anchored to a mountain of undeniable mathematical proof. You are dangerous now. You possess the blueprint. So, what happens next? You do not go back to the waiting room. You cannot unsee the matrix. The 90-day protocol is no longer a temporary challenge you are actively participating in. It is simply your default operating system. It is the baseline requirement for your existence as an entrepreneur. You look at the horizon. Because you have climbed this mountain, your perspective has shifted. You can suddenly see peaks that were entirely invisible to you 90 days ago. The data is logged. The identity is shifted. The new coordinates are set. The resting phase is over. Pick up the hammer. Build the next bridge. This concludes our journey today. Thank you for listening. If you found value in this, please leave a like. It really helps the channel. I'd also love to hear your favorite takeaway in the comments below. Subscribe for more audiobooks, and I'll see you in the next one.